Hey there, I've got more shenanigans and Malifaux for you. This time in Molly 2. This is not an original list. This is something that was very graciously shared with me by the community.
Editor Tyler here. I got my credits wrong. Proper credits are something I care a lot about. This being my second YouTube video ever, I made some mistakes that limited my ability to change the credit on the screen. So, this list was originally conceived by Andre, who goes by Carnage in the Weird Discord. Go Lone Star Meta, thank you for this batch crazy list. Do your homework before finalizing your videos, kids. That's enough for me. Back to the video.
And for some reason, it just scratched that itch in my brain that I could not let it go until I optimized it, tried it out, and kind of made a decision of how I liked it or not. This was a lot of fun, and there's just so much going on. So as I develop the channel a little bit more, I want to focus on a lot of these multi-part complex setups that either have really good, really big payoffs, hyper efficient, some cool mechanics. I know I like silly things, so if the outcome is just random and weird, all the better for me. So that's all I'm going to talk about that so far. Let's dig into this list. As you can see, we're coming into this with 8 stones. There are several key players in here, and just because uh, we've got Archie and the Forgotten Marshal here, they're not key in any way to this combo, so I don't have them on the map. Um, but we will be relying everything on Molly and the Night Terror. So our first friend here is the Night Terror. This whole list revolves around it, and it's fading specifically. So the fading for this model is after it discards any cards, it may push up to 5 inches in any direction, ignoring other models. So it does care about terrain. Keep that in mind, because this is a push and not a fly. And then models moved through this way must pass TN13 move duel or suffer 1 damage. And 13 is an 8, so that's higher than half. It's not too bad. And then if you really want to go crazy, and I highly recommend doing it, it's a lot of fun. Puts a ton of hand pressure on your opponent. Make sure you get that negation aura up before you do it. So you're going to want to make sure you activate him first, and then cheat whatever it takes to get that negation aura going. Because until the end phase, enemy models within range must each discard a card to cheat fate. That's going to come in handy later on, and we'll show you why. I got the Necrotic Machine here to talk about the exact wording on Accomplice. There's a lot of mental shortcuts in Malifaux because it's a complicated game, but this one's really interesting. So after Necrotic Machine ends its activation, a friendly model within 6 inches, no line of sight, and that has not activated this turn, may discard a card or pass token to do so. That means the Necrotic Machine is not the one discarding the card. So if we uh, accomplice into Molly, hypothetically speaking, Molly is going to be the one that will be discarding a card, therefore proccing her fading, and the dominoes fall from there. The last other one that I want to talk about here before Molly and Philip is Noxious Nephilim. So his Memories of Blood triggers whenever he takes damage, and Molly's just going to spend the whole turn beating him up. So the idea is after this model suffers damage from an action or trigger other than Last Memory, um, another friendly Forgotten or Nephilim model within 4 inches may take Last Memory. And Last Memory is once per turn, so Molly can't take it every time. We have to distribute the Last Memory action through multiple models. The costs here are once per turn and discard a card and suffer 1 damage, and then draw a card. So with this setup, there's a lot of interesting mechanics with the costs and timing. I'll have to figure that one out, and I'll probably get it wrong, but I'm going to do my best to demonstrate the intent here. And then Molly herself. So she's got her Parade of the Dead. When a friendly model activates within 8-inch aura, it may discard a card. She's always in her aura, so that's going to be a free discard before she even does anything. But most importantly, her fading After this model discards any cards, another friendly model within line of sight may resolve its fading ability as though it had discarded the cards. Line of sight is super strong. So you could do this from across the table. That would be even cooler, actually, if you could. Philip and the Nanny, and all we really want to focus on in the card right now is Rambling Man. So if somebody within 3-inch aura of Philip discards a card, he gets to go ahead and copy their fading ability if they have one. And so that means that Philip would also get Molly's fading, which is another friendly model within line of sight, can resolve their fading. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the board. Here we are in Vassal. I rolled a random map. I recently played against Sandeep too, so I'm using Sandeep 2 as an example here, and funny enough, on this map. So this is a little familiar to me. Go ahead and drop that. And drop that. So when we have this out here, we're just gonna assume we're going into Arcanist, so we're gonna assume they have a 7-card hand. Let's shuffle their deck for them. Draw 7 cards. And bring it all down here. Shuffle our own deck. Okay, we're ready to go. We got our 8 stones just in this little window here. And we're going to demonstrate for this purpose here. We're going to say these 2 models have already activated. Bonasuva and Sandeep 2 looking like juicy targets. So first off, let's get that Night Terror going. And we're going to just say he was hiding off in the corner. Maybe he got summoned up there by the Lone Marshal, who knows. But we're going to make him stay over here. I like to copy and drop a 5-inch aura whenever I have a model in flight in Vassal, just to make sure I'm accurate. And then when we land, we want to make sure that we're 4 inches close to the Nephilim, and we are. Let's go ahead and focus and try and get that negation aura up, which requires 5. All right, we get it. So the aura is up, hand pressure is there. Every single one of these duels these models are going to take, they'll need an 8 or better, like I said earlier. So let's take a look at the opponent's hand. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards with an 8 or better. Also, you know what? Let's just assume this was an initiative card. Always burn a card, and we still get our 5, so we're fine. We'll burn a card here for them. Hey, that's good. All right, so Night Terror's done. Go do the Necrotic Machine. It does whatever it wants to do. I don't really know. Let's say focuses and interacts. And at the end of its turn, we begin. We're going to go into Molly. Molly's going to accomplish, so she will discard a card to accomplish. Her fading procs. We've got line of sight to that Night Terror because we have a Totem Lamp Forest. Night Terror's going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. We begin. We're looking for 8 or better in order to succeed. And I'm going to take all the failed flips and put them down here. So everything, if they want to cheat to save, they would have to discard a card. That's just one. Philip saw that happen, so we're going to go ahead and walk backwards. We actually do need to make our second because we're going through 2 models. So that first time, that flip, that failed, we're going top to bottom. Nothing to save for, hey, sure, that's Bonasuva. Sandeep 2, how'd you do? Failed it. And now this is Philip's. Philip copying Molly's fading to proc the Night Terror because the Night Terror is in line of sight. 2 more flips. We take 1. That's a success. And that's a success. All right. That was just accomplice. So we've got a little bit ahead of us. And here we go. Molly has the Whisper. And we want to look for any kind of a crow. Hey, there's a Black Joker. So what we can do here, here's a spicy decision. We're going to go ahead and just put these back on. I'm going to put a Black Joker on top. And then we are going to stone for a crow. So since we can't cheat when the Black Joker gets flipped, we're going to bake in the Crow, and we're going to attack the Noxious Nephilim, who is going to relent. Look at that. Okay. So here's timing that I was talking about earlier. The declare triggers happens before the damage flip, right? Anything in italics is a cost that must be immediately paid. So Molly hits the Noxious Nephilim. Nephilim relents. We declare our trigger. At that time, we discard a card. So we are going to discard a card, which procs the Night Terror, which flips 2 cards. That's a failure. And that's a success. Philip sees that happen. Happens again. That's a failure. And that's a success. Now, we do the damage flip for the Noxious Nephilim. 4 cards, pick the worst because he is hard to wound. He takes 1 damage. He has now taken a damage. So, his last memories will proc, and Molly will take that. So we're going to pop this back up, come over and check it out. Memories of Blood. Sorry, not last memories. Last memory action. Again, discard a card, suffer 1 damage. So Molly takes the damage, ditches the card that procs the Night Terror. 2 cards. We're looking for, that's a success, and that is a failure. Philip sees it. Stop me if you've heard this one before. That's a failure. And that is a success. And yeah, she actually draws a card off of that from last memory. And then timing. If this wasn't complicated and confusing enough, now we resolve our deja vu trigger. Now we draw 2 cards. We've already paid the cost. We've already done the other flips. We've already done everything else. Draw 2 cards. Back up to 6 card hand. That was her first activation. Second activation. Put up Molly's aura, because you should never forget to put up Molly's aura. It's free, and you can always potentially draw a card off of it. We could have probably done some shenanigans there with the top of the turn drawing a card, but I forgot. So we're gonna now put up her aura. And third thing she's gonna do is smack the Nephilim yet again. So he's gonna go looking for a crow. We've got crows in hand, but we got one off the top of the deck anyway. So we declare deja vu. At the time we declare the trigger. Proc this. That's a success. That is failure. Philip sees it happen. Happens again. That's another success. That is a success as well. That is the cost paid for deja vu. Nephilim allows somebody else. We're going to have the Necrotic Machine, who's within 4 inches, discard a card. This isn't going to do proc anything with a Night Terror, but discard a card to draw a card, and Necrotic Machine will heal Molly, because that's what the discard a card on with the fading is for the Necrotic Machine. If Molly was more injured, Philip would see it and heal her again. But that is the end of that happening. We've already paid the other cost. We're going to draw 2 cards now and get rid of a card due to hand size. We'll keep the crow because why not? And then the last thing we can do here, it's a little risky. So if you've got a 7 of crows or better, which we do, you can do 1 of 2 things. Positive reinforcement also has the deja vu trigger. And that will give focused and heal some of the damage that you've been doing on the Nephilim. Nephilim also has regen 2, but only when it activates. So we're going to try it that way instead. We're going to flip. Again, like I said, we need a 7 or better, or 7 crows or better. We get a 7, no crows, we cheat the 9. Can't target the same model more than once per activation. Gains focus +1 and heals 1, 2, 3. So we give it focus. We're going to do a heal flip. And then we are going to do deja vu. Discard a card, draw 2 cards. Discard a card. We do more. That is a failure. Philip sees it. That is also a failure. 2 failures coming in there. Those 2 have resolved. That's resolved. We draw 2 cards. And that's it. It's a 15-minute explanation of a super complicated, I don't know, bats, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot. So let's get in summary here. What are we thinking? I had a lot of fun when I tried it. I had the negation aura up. It put an immense amount of hand pressure. I was able to clip 2 models when I did it. I might actually consider bringing the components at least in GG4, just because you can rocket a Night Terror across the board, and let it interact. So there's that. The other notes I had taken about this was how many cards are in your deck, right? So we flipped about 20 minus our hand size of 6, and 1 for -7 because we burned 1 for initiative. And then they failed 9 of their duels. They made 19. They made 18 duels total. We could have forced 1 more with a Night Terror. So if we didn't heal the Noxious Nephilim, then we could have actually hit it again, discarded a card for the Memory's Blood, drawn a card, taken the damage on the Night Terror, because the Night Terror is within 4 inches of the Nephilim, and then force 2 more duels. So that's yet another failure, and that is another failure. So we're up to 11 failed flips. Actually, that would be -1. I apologize, because this is only the Night Terror blocking itself, which is odd for this combo. And Philip is not nearby to clip. It's really interesting. It's very punishing. It's different play. It gets through the concealment from the Night Terror that's baked into it from enveloping shadows, which has always been a challenge with Molly2, since her parade route ability or attack action is an attack, and it is a non-melee attack. It will suffer concealment. Night Terrors and models within 3 inches are granted concealment from the card itself. That's been a big conversation topic in the community already anyway, based off of enveloping darkness here. Glow. So anyway, I hope you like it. Hope you try it. I hope you try it and actually get to vote with the Night Terror. That would be pretty cool. I'd love to hear your stories in GG4, how it went. So have fun.